St. Louis dropping, popping.
Black bodies on the line. Let the creator elevate your mind.
New hits like this.
Like 3, you're out, no mistake. That's the way the pitch break. My old man, sleeping in his
The Redemption Song by the V.
sometimes grumbling and complaining, but always keeping on. A garden of fragrant flowers. Then you, woman, child,
Last poet, you know it.
flowering garden of my heart, and my heart open to you.
Pick it up at your local neighborhood stores.
Flowing out.
Amber Bookstore sells books and other items specifically directed to the African American community. While our subject matter is targeted, we welcome all readers and patrons with an interest in what we have to offer. Purchase your books online at www.amberbookstores.com. Visit with us when we're at the different community events in St. Louis, Missouri, Illinois, Minnesota, or wherever we are located. Give us a call at 314-389-2595 or 314-604-3517. Amber Bookstore books are also located at the Love Goddess, located at 2839 Cherokee Street in St. Louis, Missouri, 63118. And also at Raheem's Beauty Shop at 110 East Oak Street, Carbondale, Illinois, 62901. Some of the featured books are From the Projects to the Pyramids by Malik Ahmed. Mommy and Daddy, Do You Still Love Me Anymore? By Frenchair Gardner. Dancing in the Wings by Debbie Allen. Please Baby by Spike Lee and Tanya Lewis. Art of War by Sun Tzu. Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Cultural Genocide in the Black and African Studies Curriculum by Yosef A.A. Ben Yochanan. African Holistic Health by Layla Africa. Heal Thyself for Health and Longevity by Queen Afua. How Not to Eat Pork or Life Without the Pig by Shahrazad Ali. Now into the end of Kwanzaa, get 10% off. Make sure you give us a call at 314-389-2595 or 314-604-3517. Welcome to another episode of a News You Can Use podcast. My name is Frenchair Gardner, the creator and host of the podcast. And woo, we've made it. Happy New Year's to everyone. Thanks for tuning in to all the amazing melanated business owners that we've talked with on the podcast this year. Go ahead and go back and listen to episodes you've missed. Now, stay tuned for this awesome business spotlight.
You did the comeback story with me at the beginning of the year, and now I'm with you. How are you? Welcome to Singapore.
Thank you so much.
Oh
Thank you, Viki. I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm good, and no bad words and no vulgarity, and I'm all cool and I'm all decent.
That sounds good. Well, welcome to a News You Can Use podcast. And I'm glad to have you here today. And Viki Esther is a serial entrepreneur, a former Polytechnic Business lecturer and startup trainer and mentor, a business developer, branding and marketing specialist, a wife and a daughter. Most of all, she is a child of God, a follower of Christ, and she has lived many careers. And in her newest life, she is an enterprise podcaster. Currently, she is developing an enterprise around her international podcast that has grown to various platforms and countries. So congratulations on your feats, Viki, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Francia. How much time do I have with you? Because then I can tailor each part of my, response or the interview or the subject matter.
We got about an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
So tell us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just all yours. So you can lead me into it. And thank you so much, Francia, for inviting me. I know you are a powerhouse yourself.
Thank you.
You're doing so many things. You are the artist, musician, writer. I don't know. It's like you are that. etc. of the women, and also you're the podcaster, you're a business person, you've got a degree in psychology, and you've done your podcast news you can use so well, so professionally done. I'm so impressed. I am impressed.
Thank you so much.
So you are the woman I should watch out for and learn from.
Oh man, I'm learning from you as well, Viki. You're doing some big things out there in Singapore as well. So tell us more about yourself. Give us some history about who you are, where you're from, where you live in, and just give us some historical background about who you are, Viki.
Okay, because I'm just thinking that we will take about 45 minutes to an hour. So probably this is what I will do so that not to overrun your time. Maybe the first 10 minutes we can have this banter before we go into the formal subject matter, so that anybody who tunes in to the show, they can take away something for their business, right? We really want to reward listeners and followers for spending their time with us. So, Francia, I'm here in Singapore. It is actually 12 midnight, 12:18 a.m. Should I say it now? It's already the 13th of August, so it's midnight here, and
wow.
I'm really perspiring because it's summer all year round, and I should be in a bikini here because it's so hot here. But due to respect, I have to wear my business coat. And something about myself, I think it's so important to tell you my context to your viewers and your listeners, your followers, your subscribers. I'm born Singaporean. I'm raised here. With me comes in a whole package of being immersed in this educational system, the culture, the philosophy, and the way of doing things. I'm born here. I bring with me the values that I'm born with in this place. So the things that I do and I say, I think largely is being impacted by these cultural external factors, even before you talk about your growth internally, because you're all manufactured by external forces. What your moms want you to be, what your teacher wants you to be, what the whole system wants you to be. So I'm really talking about these external forces that made me who I am, and that made me how I craft my careers, and that you've seen and you've spoken so eloquently, the different lives I've led, and also my business that I bring into these values and behavioral and attitudinal factors into my business. So I can't divorce the way I'm being born and the way I do things with the way I craft and create or produce a business or a podcast. It all comes in like this is the output of me. So I thought that to let you and your listeners know, Singapore is a really multi-racial place. Really cosmopolitan, not so much the crazy rich Asians where you see out there, not that crazy, but a place that I am really proud of, because there's so much love and respect for diversity. There's so much love and respect for people who come from a different place. I mean, yes, you kind of step onto each other's toes because we're so packed in the city, but largely people are kind here. People are honest here. People have lots of respect Even though people will grumble and people will complain, people will say, okay, I got to do this, I got to go for the procedure, there's so much regulation, But, actually people are just really respecting harmony more than anything. Being able to live side by side amongst differences. My neighbors are from India. They're from the neighboring countries. They're just outside my door because I live in a high-rise apartment condo. And then I've got like 6 doors outside my apartment door. And then you've got people from different countries, right? You've got the Vietnamese, you've got people from Hong Kong, from Japan, from Korea. You've got international students coming from India, from Egypt, from Europe, and Americans coming in. I mean, this is the history of Singapore. And I think that because I'm born in this place, it makes me just take it all in, accept it as part and parcel of life in the world. So it kind of like makes me wonder why people can't accept each other. So, because you're born with this. You're born with acceptance. You're born with respect. You're born with like, okay, this person is this, they may speak a different accent. They may look a little bit differently, but they are your neighbors, right?
Right.
They are your neighbors. They are a person who's in the street. They are the person who rides the public transport with you. The people who are having meetings with you. The people you go to school with. So I'm born in this place whereby diversity it's just a normal part of life. I wouldn't know how to live in a place whereby it's homogeneous, right? And I lived 7 years in France. That's why I signed off being in Singapore and in France, and I'm kept here because of the pandemic. Otherwise, I would have been in France. But it's really largely difficult for you to envisage some place whereby it's so homogeneous. Like, for example, living in a place whereby people only speak one language. People only look one way. People only behave in one way. It's kind of scary when people just behave in a way.
I hear you.
So, but I've been to societies like this. I lived in China also for a few years. But I lived in those times for my first job after I graduated from Singapore. I was in China. So that was a communist country at that time. But people do behave in one way.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say respectfully, but that was then, right? Things have changed many years. So throughout the world, countries have become borderless. The borders have become porous, right? Technology has made it this way. So I'm so fascinated by like what we have today. Friendship. I'm so fascinated with the technology we as podcasters are doing. That's why I'm bringing all these people together for the show on Sunday, and also hopefully we can come again for this month-long. Every Sunday we have a conversation, international conversation on humanity. Let's talk about it wherever you come from. Tell us what's happening in your country. Tell us the challenges and the blessings. So a little bit to your listeners and your podcasting followers. Singapore, a place full of diversity. When you go out, people speak different accents. And everyone who looks like me, they may not be Chinese, all right? They may be from Thailand, they may be from Philippines, they may be from Vietnam, they may be from Myanmar, Bhutan. I mean, it's just like when you go to Africa, I mean, it's a diverse. Africa is not like a one-piece thing, it's a diversity, just like when you go to Europe, right? It's a diversity.
Yes.
So, in the beauty of Singapore, let me just shout out and also make a plug for Singapore. I wish all of you can come to Singapore post-pandemic and also come and spend your tourism dollar here to help all these SMEs. They're being burned in this pandemic. A lot of struggling entrepreneurs who can't pivot. Not every business is being able to be pivoted in the pandemic, right? I mean, either you're too slow, you don't have the expertise, no one is helping you, you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you're just like babies crying when you are in the house, when you're under quarantine. How can you pivot your business? So I'm talking about there are people suffering, friendship, there are. There are people counting money in the wallets, and I don't want to imagine that life is going to be a breeze for a lot of people. We must count our blessings, but we must also know that there are people who are really, really struggling, even though we may not see them. They're
Right.
counting their dollars, they're counting their cents, they're opening up the fridge, and they're looking at the food in the fridge. How much can I kind of like ration my food for my children, my daughter, my husband, my parent, myself? I mean, those are the times I remember when I was in university, I didn't want to get money from my parents because, they're the one bringing me to the school, and I'm getting pocket money from them. I mean, I struggled with that, and I know how it felt. Like, you have to ration every dollar in your wallet, and you don't want to tell anybody because you have the pride. You want to be able to sail through. You want to be able to say that I'm okay. You don't
Right.
want to be a burden for other people. So, I mean, this is the country that I'm being brought up in, that people do not take lives for granted, and people definitely do not ask for handouts. There's a saying here that if you fall sick, it's cheaper to die than go to the hospital, right? You don't want to burden anyone. So this is a place where people work hard, people have an honest living. It's really difficult to keep up because it's a rat race. You're always having to upgrade, and you're always in this competition, individual competition, professional competition. Even within families, you will have competition, right? You have a competition okay, have you been promoted? Of your house, after 2 years, have you been moved to a bigger house? I mean, there's a lot of subliminal pressure. Even within families, let alone the people that you already know, your friends, your colleagues, that you don't meet them like once in 5 years, and then you tell them that you're still with the same job. It's like, okay, but this is a rat race. This is a city where it goes boom, 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 really, really fast. And you don't want to stay in the same place for 3 years. You want to be moving up this social mobility, a social ladder. And you want to work as much. You know why? Because it's hard to stay in the same place. You either go up or you just go down, right?
Yes.
It's so hard to just float.
Yes.
So, French, ladies and gentlemen, that's the opening for me. Full of, full of animation in a city that is always fast, boom, 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 and a city that is always competing. But again, friendship with a place that is competing, there's a lot of love.
Yes.
There's a lot of love and helping each other, especially even across different faiths. During the pandemic, there are people who are really tough. The only job available during the lockdown was the drivers, right? The food deliverers, right? Because you're on lockdown, you order your food, you press your genie in a bottle, and then your food gets delivered in an hour. So that's the only job available. So what people did, like some of the neighbors, they would put food, they put candy, they would put Coke. They will put because the weather is really hot, they'll put ice over there, and they'll put the sign there, please help yourself. And for me, when I look at the deliverer, if it's an old person, a senior person, you give an extra tip. So that's how we try to help each other, especially during the pandemic. I see such lovable people, and they are people who do not have a lot. They are the one who are giving and share. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like I was looking at the Facebook. There's this Singaporean boy which is saying that, I only have 150. I want to buy food for people. It's like these are the things that kind of make you cry. It's like, this is a student, right? And they wanted to just buy food for people. This is the amount of money. And then I don't know how he got this money from. Maybe from his pocket money. He breaks his piggy bank or something. I mean, it's during certain times where you see the beauty of the humanity when there are needs, and that beauty comes from very decent human heart. And that's the beauty. It doesn't have to be complicated, Michelle. So
yes.
That's my opening for Singapore. I hope that all of you can come here. It's such a lovely place with lovely people, diverse up and down, left and right, fine and bad, diverse people from all over the world. You can have Russians, you can have French, and of course a lot of Americans are working here.
Yes, that is beautiful, and one day I do wish to travel to Singapore and come visit you, Viki Esther. And so, tell us about your podcast, your enterprise that you are building around your podcast. Tell us the name of it, where we can listen to it, and what it's about.
Just to introduce my podcast, thank you so much for this question, Felicia. I've got my podcast started with a brand. I talk about life. It started with a very humble, I should say, humble purpose. Not even a mission, but a purpose. My mom passed in 2015, and I think you saw my book.
Yes, my condolences to you.
Candle in the Wind, Dreams of a Daughter. Hi, I think some of your followers are there. Going to say hi.
Yes, thank you to everybody who is tuning in, waving at everybody. Hey.
It started off because I was in a lot of grief, but I realized that I couldn't remember, I couldn't piece together a full story, right? I really felt that the awakening is this journey to share you and I are walking is temporal. We are breathing, we are eating, we are moving, right? It's a temporal body. But one day we all have to return to the ground, right?
Yes.
Ash and dust. So when she did go, which is, it was coming, but I wasn't accepting that. Because I'm a follower of Christ. I really thought that there was a miracle is going to come through at the very, very end. But of course, God has His plans. After she left, I realized that a lot of stories are lost, and I grieved over her, and I grieved over the fact that one day, you and I, or like my mother, one day people will forget us. It doesn't mean the world will stop for us, Francia, when you're gone. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. People will just cry for a while. Francia, we don't mean anything to the world because the sun still shines the next day. So it pains me to know that all the struggles that we fight, all the struggles my mom fought, the pain that she's gone through, the last 2 years of her life was tough. The struggles that we go through and the struggles that you and I are going through right now will mean nothing, Vincent. It means nothing at all. I mean, can you imagine the revelation that comes to you that one day we will all return to dust and nobody will care? One day, your children may care, your husband may care, your friend may care for a while.
Right.
The world will not care. The sun still shines. So that pains me because she is my mom, and I came from her womb. I didn't want her to just disappear in the air, and I didn't want her to be erased from the earth. I didn't want her footprints to be gone. I know it will. So it pains me to know that life suddenly just kind of becomes stark in front of you that the life will be gone. And Francia, we struggle so hard now. We want the numbers, we want the followers, that they all mean nothing. Right? Nobody gives a damn. I'm just telling you the truth. Because that happens to my grandma, right?
Right.
That happens to people who have been passed. After a while, their lives mean nothing. And it pains me that my mom's passing, and my dad was passed when I was 7 or 8. Within the last 5 years, my closest families, they're gone, right? And my podcast, Talk About Life, wanted to help people document their lives. That one day, when they tell me their stories, if I'm helping them document their lives, and hopefully one day they will be thankful that one piece of documentation is there in infinity in the internet world. So it came so simple. I started interviewing my friends. I started with interviewing my closest so-called sisters. Their relationship with their moms was difficult, and I wanted them to tell the story why it was difficult Why is your relationship difficult with your parents? Tell me why. I interviewed the mother to mothers. Why is your relationship difficult with your children?
Wow.
So it came from that, and it came from like just documenting my friends, those who want and they don't mind being asked questions. You know, a lot of people, they do mind being asked questions, especially when you're in this part of the world where people are really reserved. They don't
Okay.
want to show their vulnerability, and this is what we'll talk about in our business podcast a little bit later on. So that's the spirit of it. That was talk about life, and then it went into It's My Life. Again, it's a progression from talking about life in general. But talking about talk about life in general, and then It's My Life, which is going to be a magazine, a quarterly magazine. I'm going to have an international event on which I hope to invite you for the next round, because it spills over each round. Then my radio podcast, Love Cafe, which is my third brand, talk about life, It's My Life, and Love Cafe. I mean, it all ties into this human spirit, life and love. You know, sometimes podcasters, friendship, you know, our work may not mean a lot to a lot of people because we just talk.
Right.
If we remember it later on, years later, you know, we are documenting history. When the anthropologists are going to look at what happened in 2020, what happened in 2021, they're going to look at all these history books, which is now like history podcasts. We are the people making the history. So you and I make a difference.
I agree.
So now our lives are documented. We won't be like being ash and dust anymore because we are being digitalized.
Yes.
Right? So it makes me so excited to do something like this because our lives, our conversations are going to be there for eternity. For the next Elon Musk to be putting this into the data.
Right. That's real.
Yeah.
Where can we listen to your podcast?
You can look at my at YouTube called It's My Talk About Life, but because there were so many of the same name, go to tinyurl.com/talkaboutlife. tinyurl.com/talkaboutlife. That's where you can find all my interviews with you, with the people internationally. Then now I'm on Facebook. You know, I've only been on Facebook for the last 6 months. With you, of course, with a small group of exclusive group of guests. And I'm not into numbers really. I hope that it comes, you know, but I wanted to make sure that my spirit is right. People will follow, right? Once you've got that spirit right, you've got that spinal cord right, the rest will follow, right? Once you've got a spinal cord, your arms and your legs will fall into place. So
right.
I just wanted to spend time in doing things right, things that mean something to me. Like today, I'm going to talk about business and giving your listeners and viewers some tips on fundraising and valuation of your business, getting the money out there for yourself, and how to make it being seen in this world of crowd. You know, this is a very crowded, competitive marketplace. So my podcast is an extension of me. My book is an extension of me, and my business is also an extension of me. You bring with you your value, you bring with you your attitudes, you bring with you your life, you know, how you promote to people. So I think, like your listeners and viewers, I'll be happy to hear from you, and I'll be happy to have you, Felicia, to be on my international conversation on the 22nd.
Yes, I have to look at my schedule, but yes, I definitely would love to be a part of it, of the conversation. And I'm grateful for you. I met you on Facebook and then probably in a group, some kind of Facebook or podcasting group, and I got an opportunity to be on your podcast, and so I was like, I'm gonna bring you onto my podcast. So it's a blessing to talk to you and to make international connections. And so tell us more about like business and your business and what is it that you actually do?
Okay, 3 parts to what I want to share with you and your audience. Some of these things that I learned that you probably can adapt. Whatever business, it may not be fully applicable. You do have to apply it and adapt it according to the circumstances and according to the differences of culture, context, the nature of the product of the business. I'll talk number one about me as an entrepreneur. And some of these things that I want to share because we have very limited time about myself as a serial entrepreneur, how I raise funds and evaluation, and some of the tips and the differences probably in America, in Singapore, and how you penetrate the market. And then a little bit later, after that, about the podcast industry. I'll come into the podcast world. Trying to understand not just doing a show, but looking at it as a macroeconomics, right? I would like to talk about that. That fascinates me. And of course, it fascinates me to talk about the technology, but I'm not a technology person, but I love the technology and I'm fascinated by what you and I are bringing up. So I will talk about Michael Porter's 5 forces. You may have heard of that. And then I would also want to talk about a couple of marketing mix strategies that I apply in my podcast and grow my podcast enterprise, like we have said in my introduction, the enterprisation of my podcast. So 3 parts to it, Francia.
Go for it.
Okay, number 1, I'm going to time myself, right? Okay. Wow, we've gotten 30 minutes into it by just the banter. Okay, very quickly, because it's so important. You know why? Because I value your listeners. I want to make sure they gain something from listening to this. To me, it's so important. I respect their time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done a lot of businesses, but I thought that this would be the latest business that I have, of course, besides the podcast I'm captured because of the pandemic, I can't return to France. And in France, I do have a real estate business, and I invest in properties. But I will tell you a little bit later on in the future if I come back here about how to penetrate into a very reserved, conservative French society, largely homogeneous and probably racist. But I'm so welcome there. I don't think we should even have hate on anybody in these times. We really should go with love, because when we embrace people, we embrace us. I'll talk about that in the future. But as a serial entrepreneur, I thought what is very relevant to people right now, because we are watching so much Shark Tank, right? Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den in Australia, Dragon's Den in UK, and then Shark Tank in America, Shark Tank in Canada. And I was, have been for many years, being an entrepreneur. It's natural for me to be teaching entrepreneurship, not as a textbook business lecturer. You need to teach it with real love, going through the fire like a phoenix. If you haven't gone through the fire, I'm not going to go into your class. If you haven't really gone out there, and you're just going to be teaching from a book, I'm sorry, I can read up on the internet, right? So to me, it's so important that I must have the real life fire experience. So of course, with my entrepreneurship experience, I went back to classes, and I taught it in the Polytechnic, and I was invited as a speaker for entrepreneurship for women in the National University of Singapore. And I love those times because I really wanted to share with your viewers some of the things that as an entrepreneur myself, the first thing, you need to identify, which you have done beautifully, like you have done well, business, like a black podcast, business podcast. You are in this niche, you're in this perimeters very well defined, and you're in this space, and you can be the leader in this space because you've defined your ocean very well, this marketplace of yours, right? So number one is to define, ladies and gentlemen, a need. Define a need, right? Identify a need. We know that, but it's never an understatement. It's never an overstatement to define a need, right? Number two, find a problem, right? Find a problem, and then you may not have the solution, get the people with the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to get the people with the solution. You identify a problem. That's what I do when I go into a class. Tell me, I say to my students, identify a need in the world, in your marketplace, in your community, in your neighborhood, or as a student. Just tell me and sit in there for 1 hour, look at the blank walls, and just think, right? So you got to identify a need. It will come. Number two, identify a problem. Number three, you don't have to identify a solution. You don't have to. You identify a problem first. So that's very important, right? The problem that you need. The solution will come later on, right, when you search. Right? Getting the people, getting the resources, and it's not easy getting the solution. Then number four, very important, identify your target audience. Whom are you going to target? So when I go into a class, I would say that, okay, you've got this. So my students will say, I need an umbrella that doesn't get wet, for example, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Right.
Can I get an umbrella that doesn't get wet? No, they will spams. I'm sorry if you identify that. So for the next 1 week, go and think of a solution with more people coming into your group. Okay? So they will think about different ways. They will think about, folding the umbrella in the other way, so that the water doesn't come in this way, the water comes in. So, they have, because they're young, right? They will think of anything under the sun. We need to have this childlike eye for the world, to see the world in a different way, to think that the elephant is pink in color when you want to identify the need. Okay, identify a problem. Identify a problem, for example, a wheelchair that cannot get up from a bath. Those days, people have a wheelchair, but now there's a solution for wheelchairs, right?
Right.
There's this sliding panel, right? But those days there wasn't, right? And some of my students will say, I want to get up the bus without getting wet.
Hold on, Viki. I think the maintenance man has come to my house. Hold on, I'm sorry.
To me. So
sounds good.
It's very important, and I will talk about the application a little bit later on, about how I grow my podcast using these very, very timed, tested tips, time-survived tips. Francia, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, I think it's so important. For example, if we're doing a podcast, right, we don't want to be the same as everyone. We need to identify a need, and then we identify a problem. We don't have to have a solution, right? We can even be the podcast like what you do, a news you could use like what you did, right? Advertising. But you don't have to be the one to be providing the solution, right? It could be just a platform where people just talk about their problems.
Okay.
And then it would be very important for anyone to make a couple of tips. Differentiation, strategy, and your unique selling point. Now, I think everybody has heard about that already. But it's never an overstatement to keep saying this mantra again and again. Differentiation strategies and also your uniqueness in the marketplace. How people differentiate you, and then how unique you are as a business, or as a solution, or as an individual, or as a brand. So you can think about the different ways that you can differentiate yourself. And also think about one of these aspects, the elements, that you are very unique there, right? You are the only Britney Spears, right? In that particular space. So you have to keep thinking about all these elements. It's never ending. because we keep refining and refining every day. You know, from Jay, you knew me like in January when I first interviewed, I think December. You know, I've done different things already in the last 6-7 months, right? You can see that. Everything is different because I keep moving, differentiating, identifying and growing. So lots of strategies that I can talk about, but because of the time limit, I'll just identify a couple of things, right? We've talked about number one, identifying needs. Okay, one of the needs, if I'm a podcaster, right? Like, okay, for example, if your viewers and yourself, you know that there is a need for Black listeners or the Black voices to be out there, you need to be identified as the voice, the person, the podcaster, the podcast with the Black voice, with the Black holding the banner, holding the flag. You must be identified as the light, as the flag bearer. So that's how you push out of the crowd. How you push yourself out of the crowd, out of the and go up. And how does it be done? Branding. You must identify where you want to be first. And then after that, then you will have a strategy to do that, or your tactics to do that. You get to identify what you want in this space first. Right? I told you.
Yes.
What's the problem you want to solve? Right? Okay. What's the statement you want to make about yourself? When you identify that space, then you talk about the way to get it, the way to go towards it. And the way to go towards it, number one, differentiation. It's always about differentiation. Now, there are too many podcasters out there. The last time I was told there are 6 million podcasters. Well, but podcasting has been around for many years. But it's only during 2020, because everyone was in lockdown, that it kind of booms. Right? Everybody can be a podcast because the technology was being democratized.
Right.
Anyone with a handphone can be a podcaster. Right? And I'm doing it on my handphone, like you and I doing it now. So, number one, how do you differentiate yourself from the 6 million? You have to look at the marketplace. If you want to be the Viki Esther, right? I want to be the Viki Esther in the world. I want to be different. And I must identify and see who are these people first. And I'll say, okay, where is the gap here? Can I fit in this space, right? Or can I fit in this space? Where is the gap? And then number two, how can you be unique? And uniqueness can be many ways, right? I told you. Number one is your brand, your slogan, right? We can talk about the branding, the marketing a bit later on. But your uniqueness must be someone that is identifiable with the podcast, with the content. Okay, it could be your brand, it could be your content, it could be the personality. Madonna, right? Nobody can replace her. So,
right,
that personality with the brand. Okay, I'll talk about the branding thing a little bit later on the marketing. So even before you start, you've got to do that. So me as an entrepreneur, serial person, when I start a business, these are the number one things. And then after that, what do I look at? I look at who are my customers, right? You and I, we look at our customers. Our customers are followers, subscribers, listeners, viewers. They are our
yes,
right? So we need to serve them. So who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve the mass people there, so that you can get like 1 million? And that's how we become like, you know, when we see YouTube, how to get 6 million views and all this. I mean, there are many ways. Either they are personality already,
right,
because they are Britney Spears or they are the Kardashians. It's easy to translate that.
Right.
However, we want a brand. How do we do that? We either make ourselves meeting the masses, okay? That means your product must be of that level. It must not be a high bar product, but anyone can reach it, which means that your message must be very meeting the masses. The language you use, right? The people you interview. Or you want to be the Bloomberg, which is up there, right? To be the Bloomberg, to be the Elon Musk, to be the up there. Then you craft again your target, because of your target audience, you want to reach out to the Elon Musk of the world. Then you will actually just use whatever content that only reaches out to that group of target audience. If someone wants to do a podcast, naturally they will just interview this group of people. So either getting this way or getting that way is very important in this deciding factor what we want to do as podcasters. Do we want to go here, but we want to get a massive number of people? The bar is really low. Or do you want to get that prestigious brand down there, which is seen to be up there, exclusive, and with only a few group of people, whereby you only interview certain group of people that meets your brand. So it depends on which way you want to go. And then also, you have to think through, what is your next question? Where is your revenue streams going to come from? If you go from there, you will go for marketplaces whereby these are the enterprises that can afford to pay you this amount of money, but it could be a lot. It could be the Craigslist marketplace, right? People can pay you $10 to be listed here, $20, and then you can get there. But if you want to be up there and you want to be prestigious up there, you will go to more branded customers, more branded clients who are going to speak there. Your brand is going to show that prestige. And then you will go for sponsorship, can pay for that amount of money. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you're talking about maybe $1,000, $2,500, 5,000. And you're talking about that prestigious level. That will be small, prestigious, exclusive, difficult to penetrate, or hear the masses. But that's very important for determining. Because once you go out there, like that, it's very hard for you to go out there. Once you go out there, when you want to go down, people will be questioning why you're not cheapening your brand, right? But you're not, because you're only reaching different target audience. It is only you to determine which space you want. And then which space you want to be the Elon Musk, then you only be making it very exclusively the messages that actually embodies and embellishes you as the prime branding. So, I'll share. If you're going to be up there, I'm going to brand you totally differently from now. If you want to be here to meet the message, which like all the Kardashians are doing, which is good because they earn millions of dollars. And I'm not saying which one doesn't, because it just depends on what kind of strategies you want to go. You know right. What I'm trying to say? So the Kardashians will sell the lipstick, right? $20 US. The lip kit by the Jenners, right? $20. Or sometimes they have it for 10. So they are going for the masses, and people can reach there. The bar is low, and you are seen as down to earth because you're reaching to the masses, right? And you're selling things people can buy, as opposed to that. But that has a totally different strategy. It means your brand must be prestigious. It must be bold and blazoned.
Right. Got it going on.
So then your messages and the people you go after will be very different. It means that when you enter into a podcast, because you and I were still new in the industry, right? I told you like 2020. This is a sunrise industry. It's not like YouTube. YouTube, you've got like over 600 million YouTubers. Mm-hmm. But plus you've got about 6 million. And the last time I heard was that every day there is 17,000 podcasters coming into the marketplace worldwide. It is a place where people can come in. It's a very crowded marketplace. But because it is still new, you can still choose whether you're here or whether you're here. And if you choose to be the here, to be the Elon Musk, or to the Steve or the Apple, I should say, easier for people to identify, to be the Apple of the handphone here, then definitely the logo, the slogan, the look, the whole color, the whole scheme, how you present yourself on the camera will be totally different. So it depends on it's here or it's here. And then after that, go after the advertisers that goes here, and then the advertisers who goes here. So it all ties in, it has to all tie in together. It is not a fragmented strategy. It has to be a well thought strategy right from the start. And people have to think through that every day, because it's a business that is growing and breathing. It's a human being, right? A business is a human being. It is a living entity, LLC, right? You have the LLC. So it is a living human being an enterprise. It can evolve, it can grow, and it can also die of a natural death. And it has a lot of hurdles and challenges along the way. It's a living person. So that's why I call myself the enterprise of podcast, because I see it as a business, because it goes through the business growth cycle. From this way, it goes like an S curve, and it goes this way, and then it can go up, but it can also crash. You see?
Right.
So it is a business with that business growth and then potential to die any moment. And you have all the competition. So me being an entrepreneur, I'll share with you these tips are very important for anyone to think through, because it's always work in progress, right? For example, McDonald's, it's red in color, right?
Right.
But McDonald's is not red in color. If you go to Middle East, it's green in color, And then sometimes McDonald's exists as M with the arch and the word McDonald's. But in some places, it's just an arch.
But you still know it's McDonald's.
Okay, so that's the business 101 that we always teach the students. Because your brand has to evolve a little bit to meet the context of the people. Like, what do the people expect? Why is it green in certain places? Like in Middle East, because in that place, green is seen as that very festive color, So here in Singapore, in Asia, we still have the arch. But before that, McDonald's was an arch with the word McDonald's in yellow. But now they've dropped the word McDonald's in yellow. It's only just an arch. You realize that?
I hadn't paid attention.
In the past, we have McDonald's with Ronald McDonald with the icon, right? And the children love it. But now they do without that Ronald McDonald because they've evolved.
Right.
Because brands evolve, because it has to be simple. It cannot be complicated. It must have the recall value. That's why it's called Yahoo. Yahoo, you know why? Because that's a business 101. You must have something that people can always remember. Yahoo, Google. Right, you know what's the owner of Google? It's called Alphabet, right? Alphabet. So the owner of Google, the holding company is called Alphabet. Alphabet just means ABC, and the name is just Alphabet because it's so easy for people to reach out, right? So nowadays people are going for simplicity. Simplicity is good for recall. So, depending on your name, which is the name of a podcast, it also brings with you whom you want to delete. You don't want them to come in. For example, I have a business in France, right? B&B. I want to price it high because I want to delete people who can't afford, because I don't want them, otherwise they're going to make a mess out of the house, for example, right? I want to be priced this way, so that I can cut away the people. So like my brand, my newest brand that comes out of Talk About Life, It's My Life, Love Cafe, which is very simple to recall. Right? Why is it called It's My Life? Because something that people can remember. Let's talk about life. It's my life, right? So I've got easy for the people to remember. So that's an easy recall. So that's why McDonald's slogan is called I'm loving you. You need to have something that's simple recall, but it's a slogan that people can always remember and bring the brand. So that is something that's very important. Now, my latest brand is called Metropolis, Digital Metropolis. It's a mouthful because I wanted to go up there. I wanted to cut away the noise. I didn't want to go down there because I didn't have the time. You see? I want to do something that's less, more exclusive, and reaching to certain people and do it in my time. I didn't want to reach this way. I didn't want to be the Kardashians and, they are every day they're posting because they need to reach out to 200 million fans, right? Every day. Because the fans are dying to share their news, but I can't be that level because number one, I don't have the time.
Right.
I want to do something that's up there, but I want to make it prestigious. And how do I do that? I coin out a word that is so difficult for people. I mean, difficult as in like metropolis, right? Metropolis, because I wanted to cut it away from this, and I wanted people only who knows what metropolis means, they understand the word, they will search for me. So I'm going away from it's my life, talk about life, love coffee, which I always recall, easy recall. But now I'm going to somebody that is so different, diametrically different, because I didn't want to be doing that work every day, because, being a podcaster, you can actually literally die from the amount of work.
Right.
So that's branding 101. It comes with the slogan, it comes with the brand. If you go by the masses here, which is very, very good because you actually reach out to the masses. Instagram, masses, right? That's why the Kardashians do that. But it also means that you're going to meet so many fans here, right? But
Right.
unless you want to go there, and you want to go there, it means that you have strategies to go there. So it doesn't mean which is good or bad. It just means that different places in the quadrant, right? High end, high level, or this way, low level, on the masses. Now, this is very important. McDonald's is the most pricey brands in the world, most recognized brand in the world. But it doesn't mean it's any cheap, because you know what? It's most recognized and everyone loves it. So it depends on where you want to go. It doesn't mean this one, it means it's no good. No, there's no good or bad. It's your strategy that must fall in place here and fall in place here. Right? Now, next thing so that's a little bit about marketing.
Do you want to bring balance to all the wireless radiation fields in your life, including 5G? The Omnia Radiation Balancer is a small sticker you can stick on any device. It changes the state of the field and creates a new resonance between the wireless radiation and your energy field. On the link below, you'll see all our testing results that show how the body responds excellently once you've made this change in your life. Plus, you can enter the discount code BBE in capital letters for a 10% discount. It's easy to bring balance back to your body with the Omnia Radiation Balancer.
And I also wanted to talk about I talked about some of the things that you need to think about as an entrepreneur when you first start any kind of business, podcast, which I kind of explained to you how I strategize my podcast from being here, because I wanted to interview my friends, etc., to now being here in the Metropolis. And now, if you can see me and your listeners, I'm actually doing things here because I'm doing an event on humanity. And I'm inviting humanitarians to be here. But it doesn't mean that I'm trying to cut this out. No. It means that I want to do things on a project basis, because I do not have time to be doing this every day. I want to do this, after that I want to disappear, right? Then you know what I'll do? I will reuse all my resources here for marketing and marketing. I don't have to keep doing the same podcast. I don't have to be doing podcasts every day. I can do one good podcast and keep marketing and marketing and marketing. So I'll just sit there, I'll do a very good interview with someone, I'll just keep marketing. Just, why? Friends, and ladies and gentlemen who are listening, because when you do a podcast or a YouTube video, it's going to be there forever. It's like Netflix. You can always have that movie keep coming out next year. You keep coming out because you're just remarketing it. It's just like Star Wars. You just market it again. You just market it again, right? You are just reusing the material again and again. So if I do that, if I do one good podcast and I just keep marketing it throughout the months, why? Because to me it's a Netflix movie, right? So I don't have to worry that it's irrelevant, because we're talking about things that is everyday life. It's always relevant to someone somewhere in the world. So, and because the marketplace is so huge, today you can market it in America. Tomorrow you can market it in Canada. The next day you can market it in Mexico. Right? You can package it a little bit differently. You can do a slogan a little bit differently. Just like McDonald's expanding with the same hamburger, right? McDonald's have existed all these years, right? Have they changed the burger? I don't think so. right? They just keep having different people selling their burgers. Maybe they have the BTS, and then they have the Weekend, and then they have someone else to do a collaboration with the burger. They just repackage it. So as podcasters, we have something that product, which is our episode. I always do, and what I'll do, can share, because my product, right, as a business, right, as enterpriseization of a podcast group, my product is my episode. So what I do is, I've got an episode of 1 hour, but I also cut my episode into a 5-minute clip. So it's for people who only got 5 minutes to watch. And I also cut it to 1 minute. Right? So the same product can be long, full length, mid-length, and really, really short. So that I'll meet the eyeballs of different people. People can only afford 10 minutes. They won't be watching a 1 hour show. Because time is expensive, ladies and gentlemen. But my time is expensive, and so are the listeners and the viewers, right? That's why I value their time.
Yes.
And also make it such a way that out of this clip, I will take a quote or something that's motivational and change it to a motivational video. And this is and then that could be a 1 minute video. And then I could use this and change it into a poster, a full-on poster, which I love and I'm very good at branding, right? And people could use that because, number one, it is a quote of someone. Maybe you can take a very nice. You can snapshot the picture from the video. Snapshot the video of someone speaking, like myself speaking. Then you can put the quote beside the picture, right? And then it becomes a poster, a motivational quote. It's just like what podcasters like yourself do, right? When you go to some of this CNBC, this like when I see this, right? So, some of these could be just a picture on a quotation. So that when people want to see quotation, they want to be motivated with this one eyeball. So that's how you sell it. And that's what I'll do with my podcast now. I'm doing it motivational, and I'm also doing very good posters. Because posters or pictures, I should say, they capture the eyeball. And that's the trend of the world now. The trend of the world is going through pictures. So that one picture must tell 1,000 stories. The picture with the quote, right? Sometimes you have the quote of, for example, you watch Shark Tank,
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah, then you have someone like Mr. Wonderful, right? So you can have the picture and then you can have the quote. And people want to download that because that is so inspirational. So you can have your guest and then have a quote there. Then someone can just click and they can download, right? So it's something that the world is going forward. It's all about pictorial representation. No more reading words and words and words and words. Because we don't have the time. We are actually in a world whereby the competition is so stiff for us as podcasters. Viewers or listeners, they can just click and go. They leave you. They don't stay with you for 5 minutes if you're not interested. You can't capture their attention, they will leave. So you have to capture them in 1 minute or in one picture. They say, oh, I love friendship. Then friendship with a quote. You see? You know what I'm trying to say? And then they will keep that. So these are some of the tips I'm sharing. That I'm growing my podcast. That's why I'm going into print now. And very soon I'm going into events. So like my events, because events for me, it takes a lot of time to organize, but I can have more people, right?
Right.
Sitting down, I can have 6 people, I can have 3 people, 4 people, they're speaking it together, and I can actually then, that could be something that I will use for the next 1 month, 2 months, because I can make it to individual, right? 3-person, 4-person individual, then I can have individual slides or individual quotes, individual pictures, and it will go well with the Instagram world, which we are in now. So we are not in the world about people reading novels anymore, the next generation. They are the Instagram generation. We are now going to Instagram generation. You see, you are speaking for 1 minute, 2 minutes. People want to watch you because you're only speaking 1 minute or 2 minutes. right? Then me sitting down there watching a Netflix show about 2 hours. I won't have time for that anymore. Well, except for, I don't know, people before they sleep, you want to spend time. But throughout the day, you will have to capture the attention. So we are moving into the next part of my talk with you and your viewer is the Michael Porter's 5 forces. What does Michael Porter say? Michael Porter is one of the thought leaders of the business world. There are forces in the economy that's pulling us, competition within ourselves. For example, podcaster. Within the economy of podcast, you and I are competitors. Right? You and I are competitors. So there is a force called competition within us. But we also have competition outside of us. We are competing for, number one, people who supply us with content. Who are they? They are our interviewees. They come in, so they are the one providing the content.
Right.
They are product. So then we can give our episode as products, right? The people who supply us with the content, like a speaker, like I'm providing with you content. So I'm your supplier now. Then after that, I supply with you. You make it into your episode. So the episode is your product, right? So we have competition in getting the best, most interesting speakers, right? Because speakers who are good are hard to come by. We have to compete for their time. But there are speakers who are dying to come onto the podcast because they want the exposure. So it depends on us whether who we want to choose. So there's a forces out there. So in Michael Porter's the thought thinker, number one, there is competition among us inside the economy of podcasts. Right? It could be any kind of marketplace. It could be the F&B business. It could be the supermarket business. There is competition among supermarkets, for example. There is competition among fast food business. So there is competition between podcasters. So that's the competition. But competition forces can be weak or strong. So in a place whereby in YouTube, if I were to compare YouTube versus podcast, the competition in YouTube is very strong because you're talking about 6 million YouTubers pushing out better and better quality content. Let's talk about the cook show. Right? People who are doing cooking, right? They become more and more professional throughout the years. Oh my God, it's like some of them that cook so well. And
Right.
they're even better than the Gordon, right?
Right.
They're better. Yeah, because the competition is so stiff. However, you compare that with podcasting, this is still in the sunrise industry. Because YouTube is already very mature. It's been here for like the last 15 years. Okay? So by now it's really mature. But podcasting has just really rise during 2020, the pandemic lockdown. So it's sudden surge in podcast industry. But we are still in the sunrise industry as compared to YouTube. So the competition, there is a lot of competition, but the competition isn't as strong as in YouTube because we are both providing content. Now, in a podcast world, for example, what Michael Porter says is that in a place whereby there is not so strong the competition, there is potential for you as a podcaster to grow. There is potential for you to grow more revenue and more profits, and for you to grow bigger, faster, because the competition isn't that intense as in YouTube, right? So you still have a lot of room for podcasters to grow. But what is important is that because, according to Michael Porter, the barrier of entry is very important. If the barrier of entry is very easy, you have a lot of people coming into the marketplace to be a podcaster, which is very easy because you just need to have a phone, right? So you have podcasters growing and growing and growing. So because they are coming in very fast, which also means that your strategy must be, you must go faster. You have to run ahead because people are coming in. So there is potential for you to grow vis-a-vis YouTube, okay? But if you want to grow, you have to go fast. If you really want to grow, means you go fast in terms of expansion of your enterpriseization, that means your followers, your quality, your content. You want to go this way laterally, or you want to go this way. Okay, like what I'm doing, I'm going this way because I'm having multiple brands now. Okay, I'm not going this way because I don't have a lot of followers. I told you I don't want to go this way because I don't have the time. But I want to go this way, right? I want to go this way. Also, I have different brands, right? And my different brand is sitting on top of each other because I'm going higher and higher now. And I think I want to do that. Doesn't mean that it's any good or bad. It just means that it suits me better. However, it also means that because when a podcast sound runs, we have potential to go bigger. The competition is not as stiff, okay? You have a potential also to grow your revenue before it becomes saturated and mature like in YouTube. Right? If you don't have 6 million followers in YouTube, you're almost like, there's no point doing it, you're just doing it out of passion. But people who actually get money of YouTube have about 1 million, 2 million, 3 million followers. So that's the stiff competition we're talking about.
Right.
In YouTube. However, in podcasts, people like you and I, we still have a lot of room to grow. People are coming in very, very fast, but also because the barrier of dropping out is also very low, people can drop out anytime. You see?
Right.
So therefore, people who stay in there, focus and grow, they have a potential to grow big internally, which is called organic growth, or collaboration, which is called inorganic growth, which is what I'm trying to do with you. I'll introduce you to Jamil Thomas so that if we can collaborate. This is inorganic. You're not going alone, but you're going as a group. So Michael Porter, because of, not Michael Porter says, the competition is not so strong as stiff. There's room to grow. The competition is not so strong. So now we can use collaborative growth. Not to compete, but to collaborate. Therefore, I always collaborate. Because I see there's so much room for growth. Why should we compete? We don't have to compete with ourselves. We should collaborate. Because the world is so huge. We should be competing for customers together.
Right.
Why should we be competing with each other? So therefore, collaboration for growth is very important. It's almost like a business, like the SME. Sorry, am I too fast for everyone? Too far? Raise your hands.
No, everything's good.
Oh, people are listening in. Okay, so far am I okay?
Yes.
Okay, now, very important for collaborative growth. Why? It's just like a small SME. A small SME or a small entrepreneur, you're alone. You don't have money for factories. You don't have money for print, right? Because if you're printing material, it's a lot of work, right? You don't have a lot of money for materials, resources. You can't pay your workers, right? You don't have money for workers. You're almost like a sole proprietor, a lot of people, as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So because as an entrepreneur, you are a sole proprietor, a lot of us we start as a solo person because we didn't have anyone to believe in us to, to come in and then resign from their jobs and come into this crazy route. So you are really just trying very hard on your own to grow inside yourself. That's called organic growth. You try to get customers, you try to sell on your own, you distribute on your own. But how do you grow as an SME, as an entrepreneur, sole proprietor, to become growing to be a medium size? There are many, many ways. Acquisition growth or merge or collaborative. Of course, in a listed company, it's easy because listed companies, they were bound. That's why you've got Shark Tank, right? That's why you've got Alibaba, you've got Amazon, you've got a Facebook. They will acquire, for example, GoPro for $1 billion. They will acquire this company for $1 billion because they want to grow that way. But because we as entrepreneurs, we don't have that amount of money to acquire someone's business to grow. We collaborate. We must go for inorganic growth by collaboration because we do not have the money, we do not have the resources, we do not have the time. which is labor. We do not have a lot of technology. We do not have a lot of other kind of factors that make it being able to grow. So we must have collaborative effort. For example, I pull you in with Jamil Ahmed. I see that because, everyone has to go together. He's good in technology. He has something that is outside of your world, radio or something. So you need to collaborate in order to grow. And for him, he's got a radio. He wants podcasters to be in his radio. He grows, right? So we change from competition to become collaboration. So this is called inorganic growth, and we have to do that. Because in a business, in a marketplace, in a new era, we must change competition to become collaboration. Because the fight is not between you and I. The fight is in the marketplace. We have to come together to fight for, number one, revenue, which is advertising. Number two, followers. So one of the ways, for example, you and I, or a podcaster, anyone, come together. Then we say, hey, let's join forces. Let's do a project together. And then let's bring our numbers together. Okay, I've got 5,000 followers, you've got 5,000. Hey, together we've got 10,000. Maybe we can attract some advertisers and tell them, hey, we've got between us 10,000 followers. Right? Does it sound better? And then we divide.
Yeah.
We divide the spoils. Now, it is very important. The bigger you grow, right? I should say, not the bigger. The more you grow together collaboratively, the more possible for you to get the money out there. Where's the money out there? The money's not between you and I. To get $20 from you and I, we are actually very short-sighted. So for us, friendship, you have to grow with your podcasters in the black marketplace. Join forces, get 10 people. And that's why you did your book. You got 90 people together. Join all the followers, make it into 500,000 followers or 100,000 followers. Do you think advertisers are interested? Of course. When they see, okay, there are 90 of you, right? Or there are 9 of you, or 10 women together, and 10 women collaborative effort, and 10 women have got 100,000 followers. Let's get 10 advertisers. They're in your pocket already. Right. So collaborative growth is the way to go for podcasting. Because it's not, you can't go it alone. It's not a place where you can go alone at all. You will die because number one, there's no stamina. Number two, the light at the end of the tunnel is too far. And it's too deep. Am I right to say that? It's too far, it's too deep, and you don't have the stamina to be running all the way to the end of the tunnel to see the light. By the time you're halfway there, you're dead. So we die, all enterprises die a natural death in 3 years. Because they can't hit the 100,000. They can't hit the turnover. So before anyone dies of a natural death, okay, which is a commonplace in any businesses, not because of the competition. Yes, there is a competition. It's because of yourself, because you don't have the stamina. You just don't have the amount of resources, the energy to go through what is needed to go to the end of the tunnel. So there must always be collaborative effort to pass the baton down. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Pass the baton. Yeah, it does, right? It's just like the Olympics, right? We need to pass the baton because being alone is just too hard in this marketplace. Because we're talking about 6 million and it's growing. And not only that, we're talking about Michael Porter in the theory that I'm just trying to say. This theory is applicable in any kind of economy. You're opening a pizza, right? Mom and pop store down the street. Okay, you have the mom's recipe or your grandma's recipe. But if you just keep selling your pizza to pay the rent, to pay your workers, to pay for the electricity and the light and the gas, my God, you're paying all these like taxes before you pay yourself. At the end of the year, you're dead. Right? If you are in a startup, if you had already been a startup 10 years ago, when the competition wasn't that strong, you have a chance to survive. But anybody who's coming into a marketplace that is already mature, where there's a lot of players, for anyone to push themselves out of the crowd and the noise to be differentiated from the rest of the players, it is so hard. It is just too tough. Because we're talking about barriers of entry that is so low, and we're talking about anybody can just advertise with Facebook. Anyone can advertise with Instagram. You know what I'm trying to say? So the competition is huge in any marketplace, even you are the mom and pop store. Unless you've been established there the last 10 years, you are already an established brand that people recognize. So therefore, branding is important. So we've talked about internal competition, one of the forces. External competition from guests. What kind of guest you want? You want a highly priced guest? You want the Joe Rogan to come into you? It's very hard, right? So there's a lot of competition for the good guests. So you have to think about, you want to have a competition with good guests, and yet you want to be out there to be seen as a prestigious one. You really have to think through the strategy that goes. You have to fall in place. Or you want to be the mom and pop store. If I were to be the mom and pop store, my strategy is very different. I would interview down the street the mom and pop, really. I will go and interview with my phone and ask them their life stories. How is it for you during this pandemic? Tell me your story. I will go down the street. You know what? People will tune in because they're the heartfelt stories and they reach the masses. So then the strategies are different because it is easy to get the content from these people, and then people want to listen to these people because they identify themselves with them. Right? If I have an Elon Musk on this side, not many people can identify with this guy who's giving out 100 million for the next carbon capture strategy. You know, nobody can identify with his life, right? So it depends on the strategy. And then one of the other important competitive forces is what else? Supply. Yes, customers. Now, it is very difficult to get followers, your followers. We talked about getting content, but now we talk about getting followers. Followers are customers, and it is tough to get customers. I mean, I doubt if anybody say that they have 500,000 downloads. I think they must be using the computers. I mean, there are softwares that just download. I don't see how anybody can be like 500, unless you are like the Britney Spears, right? You make a speech and 500,000 people want to tune. Otherwise, people were saying that, oh, I've got 500,000 downloads this one. You know, Friendshare, I really doubt that. I really doubt that. The computers must be doing their crypto digging, the crypto thing. So, the way to get followers is really tough. But because podcasting is still in the sunrise business, it is possible to squeeze out from the crowd. Branding, marketing strategy is possible. Now, for example, how do I apply it? I use a collaborative effort. Right. I did a lot of collaboration. I did my February special. At that time, I don't think you were with me. I invited you to the Facebook much later on. Because I don't have this thing about numbers. I'm not keen on numbers. I'm keen on the quality of work that I do.
Yes.
So that's why I only got 45 people in my Facebook. I don't mind. Because I just want to enjoy my journey. You know, I don't want to meet the needs of my... I just didn't want to do anything that I just help to get the numbers, you know. Anyway, I'm not an influencer. I don't see myself being an influencer. I'm not the Britney Spears. So, you know, I don't get that numbers, and I'm fine with it. But I think I want to get some of these things that I really, really want to talk about. Humanity. I want people to be talking about the pandemic. I really want people to be talking about what's happening with their lives there. I'm interested. Some of these things we are doing as podcasters to get followers. It really depends what kind of customers we're trying to get. Now, my customers are not paying us the money. Right? It is the advertisers that are paying us the money. But our customers are important. So in this sense, even though our customers are our followers, they are not giving us the money at all. However, I want to please myself first before my followers. So I'm doing things like within myself, my product is something that I want. And hopefully one day my followers will follow. So I'm doing things like humanity conversation. I'm talking about the global pandemic. I'm talking about faith. I'm interviewing pastors, bishops, things that doesn't appeal to a lot of people. People don't want to be lectured upon, you see? So
Right.
for me, I think there's a lot of room for us to grow. Getting out whatever customers we want. And I think competition is not that difficult in a podcast vis-a-vis the YouTube. I'm still talking about vis-a-vis YouTube because we're talking about content providing. So if you look at the cooking channels in the YouTube, they're getting better and better. They're almost like a Netflix production, some of them. There are millions of followers. However, for podcasting, we on this the handful. But can you imagine if when share you and I, we put in a little bit more effort into our videos, which is like our episode right now, right? This means that this screen that we are giving to your followers is our product and our service, right? So this screen that I'm giving, because I'm so respectful of you and I'm so respectful of your listeners, I want to make sure, now this is with regards to respect. I want to make sure if I'm the Kardashians, I want to make sure I'm in a bikini, I got my butt out, I stick my butt out, I show my butt crack, right? If I'm the Kardashians, because that's what my listeners and my viewers want if I am at the Kardashians. I want to put on my makeup because I want to please my followers. Because my followers are my customers, even though they're not paying me the money, right?
They have
However,
expectations.
Yeah, but in this particular sense, I'm not the Kardashian. But because I'm in a business podcast with you, we are respectful of them. I want to make sure I'm in a business suit. Because for you, you are giving out a business lecture, a business podcast. I want to make sure they bring back business concepts. That's the content. I want to make sure when they meet me, they feel, yes, I remember Viki. She's really giving out a business lecture. So I sit in my role that the way I see is supposed to be in this brand of the business podcast that you are in. So for you and I, there's so much room for us to grow. And there's so much room for you to bring in rightful listeners and followers in the business world. Because that's how you are actually branding and positioning yourself as the news you can use for business. And then people who want to come in, they not only must they pay $20, they have to pay $200. I'm sorry. If they want to go to Franchise Business Podcast, they must be doing $200 to Franchise, and they must make sure they look good. They must make sure they sound good. They must make sure they have got all these notes, which I write down, right? And I'll make sure that I got my research done, so that I don't have time to ooh and ah and then wait for my point, right? Because if I do that, you know what happens to your listeners and my followers? They will click and they will go. Because there's nothing to stop them from going out of the door. In a physical place, they must go to a classroom. They must leave, and then they must open the door. They must all just sit down. So there is a barrier of entry. But because we're in a virtual world now, nothing stops them from joining, and after that, they just click another page. So it makes that customer a very difficult customer to please. They want quality, product and service, and yet when they feel that they don't get that, the next second they go, right? Or they unfollow, or they stop coming again. Because we've only got this chance to let them come back again and again and again. So therefore, if we put, because yours is, because mine is talk about life. Mine is not a business podcast. But if from share, this is something that I'm doing for yourself and the listeners who has a business, who are listening in. It is so important that as a podcast, as a business, the first experience that someone comes into your shop, that first interaction, right? that would be the lasting impression, because all of us as business person, we've only got one chance to make a first impression. We've only got one chance, and that 3 seconds. Well, if you can win them over, you win them for life. So therefore, a good customer experience. There is some brand that I know in Asia, they do very, very well, Giordano or something, and they still do very well. But just to let you explore, the first thing that they come in, they will say, just like the Japanese. Okay, the Japanese shops, they will greet you, right? They will say hello, and then they will say thank you, how are you? In Japanese. I mean, the Japanese do it so well. And there's a shop in Singapore. It's like a Hong Kong. It's a Hong Kong brand. When you come into the shop, the first thing they will shout across the shop, "Hello, how are you? Welcome to the shop." That first experience makes you feel welcome. So therefore, translating it into a podcast and translating it into any businesses, either you are pizza, mom and pop store, down the street, now, these things do not cost a cent. So you can't say like, oh, it's so hard to do marketing. Oh, my customers are not coming. I would think that it's because we don't think hard enough. We must have this culture of thinking that each customer who comes into the door, or that each customer who's clicked into your video is our customer, they must be respected, welcome, and joyful to welcome them with a smile. So, and that is translated to the mom and pop store down the street, right? Because competition is stiff. So the mom and pop store, instead of just putting on there, letting the customers be queuing there, the first thing they must do is, as a culture or a practice, okay, a culture or practice, as a customary business practice, the first bell that rings when the door opens, ring because there's a bell or something that opens. Everyone must clap. Hey, welcome to Papa's Pizza. No, these cost nothing, but we must do it. Why? Because competition is stiff, and the more you do it, the more customer have this thing called memory, subconscious.
I got a call to come through. I'm sorry about that.
It's such a nice place. One thing, yeah. All good. So that's the customer recall. That's a happy place. We need to create that customer experience.
Sorry about that.
Okay, we are already 1.5 hours.
Yes, it's been so good to hear your perspectives, and you've dropped so many gems about business and marketing and how and organic ways to grow your business. And I am just delighted to have this time to talk to you. Tell the audience, I want to thank everybody that has joined us on the live. We appreciate each and every one of you. Trish the Natural, Sherry the Lash Plug, Honeybee Botanicals and Things. Thank you. Podcast nobody listens to. Hey Enoch Ravi. Hey Ricky Wilson. Reckless Dino. Thank you. Wumsy African Attire STL. Tesnia Tunes.
So many followers. Oh my God.
It's a blessing. Yes, Nia Marie, Level Up Stock University. Thanks to my sorority sister Lightning 1908 for joining the live website for sure. Thank you for your support, Ariana's Closet, Broken Hearts to Open Hearts, Adivas Cosmetics. Thank you, Deborah Mitchell, and my friend James Dickerson and Light of Open Child Center UG. Thanks you for everybody for tuning in to this episode of a News You Can Use podcast with podcaster Viki Esther Chang. And you can definitely go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to your podcasts to tune in to the other episodes. You can download the past episodes. We appreciate you following us on Spotify and giving us a review and a rate on Apple Podcasts. And do share this podcast with 5 of your other friends. I got that from you, Viki. Share the podcast with your friends and your family.
Because I got so much to share, I can go on and go on and go on. But, like what you say, these are the gems of business. They didn't come from me. It comes from all these researchers all around the world.
Yes.
That we must learn from all these gurus of business. It doesn't cost a thing to sometimes keep a customer, but because the customer are powerful to go, right? And it's so hard to keep them to stay with us. That's called the customer stickiness. It gets really, really hard now as the world makes it so easy for them to go to the next door. Because down the street, there's 100 shops down the street that's also doing the same thing. Right?
Yes, that's
so
true.
Therefore, I would say that if anyone can share on your clients, your customers or followers who are also in the business world, give some thought to the customer experience and respect and loving each customer as soon as they ring the bell, even before they open the doors, like that. So, that is so important. And also differentiation strategy, being unique. And I haven't even talked about fundraising.
We'll have to do that on our next show. And so I thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Viki.
I enjoy so much, Francesca.
Yes, it's been a joy. And tell us again before we get out of here, how do we tune into your podcast?
Okay, my podcast is not really on business. It's about talk about life.
It's okay. I just want the listeners to have the opportunity to listen to your podcast.
Yeah. tinyurl.com/talk about life. tinyurl.com/talk about life. That's where you can find me on Sunday, 9 a.m. American Eastern Standard Time, which is New York time. There will be a live cast of international speakers, which is the first inaugural one, which we will be having more and more. And that's why I'm inviting Francesca to be on the 22nd. Tune in, everyone, on the 15th. It's an international conversation on humanity. It's about what keeps you up at night, your bills, your jobs, your children's future, safety in the street or street safety, education, life opportunities, social mobility, jobs, money in the wallet, food in the fridge, food on the table. Let's just talk about all these things from all around the world. What challenges you and what keeps you up at night? And I think you will be surprised. There's going to be so much similarities everywhere we are.
That's true, Viki. Now, where do people go to for the panel?
Yes, tinyurl.com/talk about life. Tiny, 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 TINYURL.com/talk about life.
Sounds good.
Talk about life.
That is great.
tinyurl.com.
Okay, I got to get out of here. So, thank you for coming onto the episode, to the podcast, Viki. I have to get out of here. This is starting to get busy around here in the house. I thank you for coming, and I appreciate everybody who tuned in to the podcast. And make sure I have books. We have books. Go ahead and buy our books. We have children's books. Mommy and Daddy, Do You Still Love Me Anymore? 90-Day Devotional, Finding Joy in the Journey, Volume 2. And an audiobook about my experiences in the pandemic. And Viki Esther has written a book about her mother. You can buy these books on Amazon. And we are grateful for you tuning in today. DM me if you're interested in spotlighting your business on the podcast. And thank you again, Viki. I'll talk to you soon.
You got to off this. I don't know how to switch this off.
Okay, I'll end it. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you for coming.
Love you. Bye.
Free your mind while it's time. What's up with that? I got one thing on my mind. Revolution. Yo, that's Pharaoh Chibumba.
Please make me die 1,000 deaths in a day, and then I won't jump in the front while
Put it down for the new time. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Shalom, shalom. Hotel. Yeah, MIDT Records. B&B Productions. Rhythmic sound. Love to rap. Yo, check it out. At all your local neighborhood stores.
Thank you, Independent Thought Podcast, for leaving your review. It says, news that doesn't sing the blues. Wasn't sure what to expect when I clicked on the episode, but I ended up loving it. I love her vibe and the way she breaks everything down. Definitely take the time to check this out. Thank you so much, Independent Thought Podcast, and go ahead and find Independent Thought Podcast and check them out. Thank you so much for the 5-star rating and the review on Apple Podcasts. Your podcast reviews help us to be discovered by more like-minded people like yourselves, so it's really helpful if you leave one. Please leave a review today. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of our financial supporters of A News You Can Use podcast. I ask that you consider buying me a coffee or becoming a patron of A News You Can Use podcast. What your support does is it helps me to continue to produce and publish episodes, and it's helping me to level up, to buy equipment for the podcast, like microphones and different software that is needed to edit the podcast and make it sound better for you. So I appreciate it if you please buy me a coffee, or become a patron, or you can donate directly through the Anchor FM app. And if you give $9.99 per month, I'll receive a higher percentage of your donation. I really appreciate you. Thank you. The links are in the show notes. Peace and blessings.
Check this out. Yo, them beats is poppin'. Check this out. St. Louis' very own hit record release. Love Song. By JCD, rap artist. Yeah, he's fat. Check this out. From MIDT Records, B&B Productions. Pick it up at your local neighborhood store.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of A News You Can Use podcast with Frontier Gardner, your host and creator of the podcast. We are so grateful that you are tuning in wherever you are in the world. Please, please, please make sure you are sharing the podcast with your friends and family. At least send it out to about 5 people at least. Follow us if you're listening to us on Spotify so that you'll be notified of the next episodes. Add us to your podcast list on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Leaving us a review really helps us out a lot. It helps us to be discovered by more people like you, where this information resonates. Purchase Friendshare Gardner's books. Mommy and Daddy, Do You Still Love Me Anymore? Is available on paperback and ebook on Amazon. For signed copies, go to our website. Finding Joy in the Journey Volume 2 is available on our website. And the audiobook, Single Save Struggle, The Struggle Continues, is available on our website. You can also purchase our brands that we've designed with our paintings on our websites, notebooks, shower curtains, prints of the paintings, pillows, buttons, phone case for iPhones and Android phones, handbags, or rather tote bags, all designed with Friendshare's abstract paintings. They're available on Threadless and Teespring. The music playing in the background is by Friendshare Gardner. You can cop her album or just get one of the singles that you really enjoy on Amazon Music and Apple Music. You can also listen to the album Supernova Universe by Friendshare Gardner on Spotify and SoundCloud. We really appreciate your support. Your financial donations are definitely needed to sustain production of the episodes and the podcast, continue creating episodes, for purchasing equipment that's needed to run the podcast, to hire editors. So if this episode resonated with you, please consider donating by becoming a patron, by buying me a coffee, by sending us funds through PayPal, paypal.me/Friendshare, that's FRENCHAIRE, or through Cash App, $BEANDUS. LLC. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you tap in with our sponsors, Amber Bookstore and Omnia Balanced Radiation.
I want one guarantee. I need you to love me through it all. Okay? Even when you're angry, I need you to love me through it all. Listen, because listen, we all know it don't always be easy. I need you to love me through it all. Tell me, no matter what, I need you to love me. Hey, the bad, the ugly. If we don't do this, we don't do this. This ain't no play play. So, listen to these words. There will be devastation. There's gonna be tragedy. Lovers losing their passion. All around us everywhere. And there will be distractions trying to lead us astray. And popular opinion telling us that it's okay if we go through madness. Will you hold me down? Heartbreak and sadness. Will you stick around, baby? I want one guarantee. I need you to love me. Even when you're angry, I need you to love me. It don't always be easy to love me. I'm too particular. No matter what, I need you to love me. When we struggle, I'm in love. And if the darkness tries to consume all of us, light it up with baby, will you hold me down? Heartbreak and sadness. Oh, tell me, will you stick around? Yeah, I want one guarantee. Love me through it all. Even when you're angry, I need you to love me through it all. It don't always be easy to love me through it all. No matter what, I need you to love me. When I'm crying in your face and you're pushing me away. When we both had enough, will we hold on through the storm? Cause it's so easy when everything's going right. Ooh, when everybody wants something that'll stand the test of time. Oh, and I want one guarantee. Yeah. Love me through it all, even when you're angry. Love me through it all. I want one guarantee. Love me through it all. Yeah. Even when you're angry, I need you to. I want one guarantee. I wish y'all would sing with me, okay? Actually, sing to your boo. Sing to your bang. It's real easy. It just goes. Love me through it all. I want one guarantee. I need you to love me through it all. Oh, we're going to have to turn the music off there. She bring it from the way down. I need you to love me through it all. Don't be shy. I don't care if you can't sing. Sing it to the top of your lungs. Even if you know, do this like you in a shower. Conviction and commitment. All right, here we go. I need you to. Oh, yeah. Even when you're angry, I need you to. Two more. It don't always be easy. I need you to. No matter what, I need you to. Yeah,